So I see this video coincidentally pop up from RNC Research. Somebody had retweeted it, and it's a montage of Joe Biden. It's 1 minute and 40 seconds. I believe we should play it all. And I just want you to think about, when you're watching this, if you believe this is someone who is fit to be the leader of the free world at the current time. Let's take a listen.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, from Charlotte, another line going from in Florida down to Tampa. Of Putin's kleptocracy. Yeah. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him. The idea that
It's terrible.
Los Angeles and what am I doing here? For two reasons. One, we haven't been able to communicate it in a way that is, let me say another way. But the nature, not a solid meeting with they make a very good point. Here's the deal. Here's what drives the driver in the states that are affected. Here's what you can do, the drivers. We want to expand pre-K for 3- and 4-year-olds, millions of pre-K students.
Wow. Okay. Listen, sometimes you can't help but laugh. Is it good to laugh? No. I did. It's funny. I mean, the long pauses, that it is at times you catch yourself laughing, but this is deeply, deeply, first of all, it's sad, right? We talk about this. Where is his family at this point? This is clearly someone who has something going on physically, mentally. I don't know if it's dementia, but it's something like that. Something is really wrong. You can see that he stops and is completely lost. Something is missing. So, and not only is it's also dangerous, right? It's also dangerous. So we can say, oh, it's funny. We can say, oh, where are his loved ones? But you realize this guy's like at the top of the chain. This is the guy. This is the president. So you're not watching some video of some actor and you're like, wow, why doesn't somebody pull him off the camera? That's terrible. That would be bad enough. This guy is in charge.
Or so
right?
they say.
Well, so they say, right. So we could say, oh, there's a bunch of people underneath him. You know, he's got a bunch of advisors. Maybe he's not making any decisions at all. But regardless, he's the figurehead. He's the guy that other leaders around the world look at and say he's running the country. He's on the top, right? He's up there. Nobody has stepped in. Now, I don't like when people say usually, well, what if it was a Republican? But honestly, what if it was Trump? What if it was Trump? Now, listen, people said, oh, Trump, he's crazy. He's this. Guy was sharp as a tack. He was sharp. Still is. I haven't seen much of him on media recently, but if nothing has changed, the guy was not doing that. He may not have liked what he said. You may not have liked what he said. Maybe you loved what he said, but the guy was sharp. The guy wasn't missing a beat. I hate to say it. And this is very, very sad and very disturbing. Where is the media on this? Where are they?
That's the thing, is that I had this conversation with somebody in the office it's a whole different reality. Mm-hmm. Like, we were having the conversation and he said, so you're saying he's not fit to be president because he fell off a bike and tripped going upstairs. And I said, what about everything else? And he goes, show me one thing. And it's things like this. And he goes, oh, I'd never seen that before. Mm-hmm. I didn't know he was doing that. I didn't know he was stuttering. Right. I didn't know he couldn't complete a sentence. Like, it's horrible. Yeah. And this is going to be his legacy. He could have left after Obama and been golden. He could have been put up high on the pedestal and would have been the greatest vice president in history. Joe Biden, everybody loved Joe Biden. He was great. And now this is his legacy. Yeah. And they're just tanking it. And I bet you if they don't get him out with an illness, they're going to hit him with the 25th Amendment.
Something's going to happen here. And I think the problem was they didn't have anybody else, right? They didn't have it. How sad, though. How sad. That was the only guy. And because of COVID, first of all, they didn't have anybody else that they felt people would vote for. Kamala wasn't going to be it. Sorry. With COVID, being the way that it was, he was able to shield himself. You know, the restrictions, the safety, the fear. So he was able to just disappear, right? Not do press conferences, not show up. Remember, he would show up for like 3 people and there were those circles on the floor you would stand in. He would just miss stuff and blame COVID. So it went on. Where was he? I mean, Trump was like doing rallies out and about. You know, it was a very different campaign. One was very front and center, involved. You saw him, you heard from him. And Biden was like, remember you say, well, Joe Biden's in his basement. It became a running joke because where was he? So he got away with it. And the problem is that now he's in there and he's seriously struggling. He doesn't take a lot of questions. Can't imagine why. His handlers are like, don't put him out there. Don't put him out there. And the reason the media doesn't cover this, they don't cover it, right? Because what would you say? How would you cover this montage any differently than to say there is something seriously wrong with him and he should not be in office? He's not fit to be president right now. What sane person would cover that differently? None. They couldn't do that. They couldn't show up on TV and do that. But they have to wait. They have to time this. And I told you're going to see a gradual turn here. But the second they have some plan, and by they, I mean the Democrat establishment, right? This stuff comes from the top. The second the Democrat establishment says, we have a plan, okay, I think they're going to try and let him run out, his rest of his term. And then they're going to have somebody that comes in next round that's not going to be him. The second that happens, you're going to see all of a sudden people are going to be saying things on the left that you didn't hear. Well, Joe Biden, he really needs to take back. You've heard some of these videos. He doesn't set something might be going on. If they have to exit him before the end of the term, I think that gets sticky for them. I think it gets very, very sticky because then it's like, if you're willing to call it out, why haven't you been calling it out all this time? Like what you knew this was going on and weren't covering it. It becomes sticky for the media. It becomes a little sticky, but they don't want to talk about it. They would rather go under the assumption, and they probably have assurances from people in the Democrat establishment high up, don't worry. We're getting what we need to get done. Don't worry about Joe. He's out there. Yeah, he makes mistakes. Just ignore it. Don't cover it and let us do what we need to do in the background policy-wise because it's not about him anymore. That's probably the message that's getting filtered down. So media decides, let's just not cover that Joe Biden's falling apart. Let's not expose that he's not running the show. And let's just be happy that he's in there and he is a conduit for far-left progressive policies every single time he can. If you like the short clip, you can catch another one here, or you can catch the full episode right here.